Okay, well, ready to go, Heidi?
We are ready to go.
Thank you. Could I welcome everyone to the Northern Beaches Local Planning Panel meeting for Wednesday, the 16th of August. Before I formally commence the meeting, I'd just like to give a quick rundown on the background to panels and their role. Back in 2018, the state government made local planning panels mandatory for all Sydney councils and Wollongong Council. The aim behind the panels is to provide an increased level of accountability and ensure independent oversight that would lead to better planning outcomes. The function of the panels in relation to the matters that are referred to it are to provide an independent and open forum for interested people and groups to hear and make submissions about development proposals, to consider and determine development applications, application modifications and reviews of applications, and also to make recommendations to council on planning proposals and the other matter that may be referred to the panel. There are various statutory rules that govern the panel's operation through a code of conduct and operational procedures, and that information is available on the council's website as well as on the Department of Planning's website. The process is that council officers still assess development applications and then report to the local planning panel. So in the assessment of applications, the council officers consider any submissions, any supporting documentation and the like, do site inspections and so on, and they use that information to assess the application. Then they make the report to the planning panel together with a recommendation, and then the panel then considers that report. The panel has applications to that, any supporting information as well as the submissions that have been made by the community, and as well as any submissions or presentations that are made at this meeting, and then the panel makes an independent determination. The important thing is to note is the panel doesn't set policy, but works within the legal framework and policy set by council, the state government and the courts. So we're not rule makers, we're administrators of the rules. The panel itself consists of 4 members, a chairperson, a committee member and 2 independent expert members. So my name's David Crofts and I'm the chair of this panel for this meeting. We also have at the meeting Marcus Sainsbury, who's an independent expert, who just waved, David Epstein, who's an independent expert, waved, and last but not least, Nick Lawther, who's our community member. The format of the meeting usually includes panel members doing an on-site inspection where that's physically possible and they're able, a public panel meeting, which is where we're at the moment, and then a closed panel session for the panel to deliberate and make a determination on applications, and then a public announcement of the determination. The panel meetings are normally live streamed and recorded, but due to some technical issues, they're not currently live streamed, but this session will be recorded and available on council's website after the meeting. I might also add that the public component of the meeting is an opportunity to make a submission. It's not an opportunity for a to and fro discussion or debate between the applicant and the objectors. I think that's pretty well it in terms of providing a bit of a background for those of you who haven't attended a meeting prior. I'll now move on to the formal part of the meeting, and to start the meeting, I'd like to acknowledge country. As a sign of respect, the Northern Beaches Planning Panel acknowledges the traditional custodians on the land upon which we gather and pays elders to past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to pay our respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are present at the meeting. Apologies and declarations of interest. I haven't received any apologies or declarations that indicate a conflict of interest with any matters. Heidi, is that case with yourself?
That is correct.
Thank you very much. The minutes of the previous meeting held the 2nd of August are included in the papers that were distributed. It's on page 5 of the PDF document. There's a recommendation that the panel note that the minutes were adopted by the chairperson and have been posted on council's website. That then takes us to the first matter of today's meeting, which is the only public component, and it relates to, it's item 4.1 on page 5. That this relates to a modification to a development consent, modification 2023/0238, located at 15 the Chase Lovett Bay, and it's the modification of a development consent granted for the alterations and additions to a dwelling house, the installation of an incline passenger lift, and the replacement of the on-site wastewater treatment system. The reason why it's been referred to the panel is that the proposed modification contravenes a development standard imposed by an environmental planning instrument, and in this case it's more than 10% of the non-numerical standard, the variation, and also it's a modification of a determination made by the local planning panel. We have a recommendation from the council officers, but the panel is not bound to accept this recommendation. It's up to us to make an independent assessment, and the recommendation is to refuse the modification application. On my running sheet, I have only one potential speaker, and that's the applicant, Barbara Mazzeri. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Is that correct, Heidi?
That is correct. Just one registered speaker.
One registered speaker. Is Barbara on the line at the moment?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. Barbara, do you want to make a presentation, or would you prefer to take queries and questions from the panel members?
We've actually had a conversation. I'd like to ask Steve Crosby to make.
Sorry, is someone? Could you repeat that, please? There was a noise in the background.
Apologies. I'm Barbara Messerly. Very nice
Yes.
to meet you all. I would actually like to ask Steve Crosby to make the presentation on our behalf.
Okay, thank you. That's fine. Steve, just by way of background, if you can try and limit your presentation to 3 minutes, that would be much appreciated, and we're in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand that this is a slightly or somewhat difficult application and decision for the council and the planning panel to make. The owners of the house bought it as a finished product some years ago. It was built with the front of the house forward of the foreshore building line, and that is how it stands. The application here is to provide safe and convenient access to the approved basement rooms, which are below the floor level we're sitting on now, which is the main floor of the house. Now, they are all within the footprint of the existing building, and that was approved by council. But there was an issue with the access to the basement rooms. That is the deck and stairs, which are the basis of the current modification. Now, the design policy rules are set to create development that is appropriate for the applicant and the owner, but not detrimental to the environment. The environment includes neighbours. Now, neighbours know about this and have seen the drawings and are supportive of this application, and you will note there have been no objections from anybody to it. It needs to be appropriate for the public, and the public, we're talking about visual aspect, and that's both from walking along the foreshore trail or out in a boat on Pittwater or on a cruise boat. This development is at the very back end of Little Lovett Bay, so it's well out of the waterway. The house itself is quite hard to see when you're out in Pittwater because of the existing spotted gum trees in the foreground here, which are all going to be retained. They're very healthy. There's been a very good a report from an arborist about the health of these trees. All of the vegetation stays. So what the public are going to see from the waterway is the same facade, but broken up with vertical and horizontal lines that form this narrow walkway and decking on the basement level, and the replacement decking on the first floor level, balustrading on the first floor level, will be pretty much the same as it is now. So the appearance of the building from the waterway will be very similar to the appearance now. The basement access decking that we're asking for will actually break up the facade somewhat. If you did refer to the elevation drawing that was submitted with some modification, the horizontal and vertical elements of the balustrade and decking are coloured yellow, and you can see they're fine, just fine line. Now, these will fit out in front of the glazed basement, and they will only help improve the fragmentation of glass and the basic indistinguishability of the structure when seen from the waterway. Even when you walk along the foreshore path here, the building itself is set back further than the neighbouring building and is quite discreet. It's earthy coloured in materials. I think that's pretty much it. If in terms of environmental impact, we're not affecting the natural environment. In terms of view loss, which is an issue, I think here, this building will have no impact on view loss at all, or the view for the public. Sorry, the public's view of this foreshore won't be impacted at all. So I think clause 4.6 was lodged, and on the basis of what I've just said, I think there are grounds to approve this application.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Panel members, do you have any questions at all of Mr. Crosby? David?
David, through you, if you don't mind, Steve, perhaps if you could explain. At the moment, I'm just looking at the basement floor plan, and the access to the basement area. You were saying this would assist with that. You can now get into the what's labelled as table tennis room, workshop, craft room, those spaces. How do you get into the toilet and the storage space on the western side, western end at the moment?
Well, if we don't alter the stairs coming up to this basement level, I think we can only get into the eastern end, which is the table tennis room. You could possibly get into the workshop, but you can't get into the craft room, WC, or the storage room without going from one room to the next. And you also don't have direct ground access into things like the craft room or the workshop unless we carry a deck through to the ground, which is what's proposed at the western end. You would have to go up and down a story to get in and out of a workshop. And if you know, carrying materials in and out of a workshop,
yeah.
One story climb upstairs is an issue. We would have a much better access if we could carry this deck right through to the ground at the western end.
So can I just clarify that? On the plans, it appears to show some sliding doors between the table tennis room, the workshop, and the workshop to the craft room. Is that's the way you'd need to move between the rooms as it stands?
You couldn't shut a room off, say a workshop, just close it off and leave it. If it's a dirty room, for instance, like my workshop is, you couldn't shut it off if you had to go from one room to the next.
Okay. And then to get into the storage room at the moment, how do you get into it? I can see some sliding doors there. Is that ground level access at that point, or what exists?
That's you without this deck, you can't get into it. Basically, that's the reality.
So how would they have used the toilet in the past that's there?
It's not there. It's not built yet. It's
Ah,
Oh, okay, so that's
Okay.
part of that's the confusing
so
part about it.
on the plans that we have,
Mm.
which components have not yet been built, please?
the basement itself, or the basement rooms, haven't yet been built. They were
Oh.
approved under the DA, but this is a modification to.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
That's part of the approval, the previous approval.
Yes.
Okay, but that part hasn't been built. Okay.
In fact,
That clarifies that.
In fact, I don't think you could get into any room with the existing stairs, except the table tennis room at the end, because there is a half landing and then the stairs go back the other way. We're actually rebuilding the very first flight of stairs up to basement level with this modification.
And what is that space at the moment?
It's undercroft.
Undercroft. Okay.
There's a water tank.
Okay, that helps the understanding of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there would have been, in the original plans for this development, a means of accessing these rooms, particularly the toilet end of things.
Yes, this decking was part of the original application, and it was knocked back on the grounds that it was in the foreshore zone. And so the only way that the council at that stage was prepared to approve the rooms was if you basically couldn't get into them, take the decks off. And we're here before you say this is not logical. There is no downside for the public or the environment putting this here, and there's a huge upside for the owners. It just makes the place all useful and workable.
But it would rely on you going outside in order to get to the bathroom from any of those spaces.
Yes.
Whereas you could link them internally.
In the house, it's a third bathroom, if you like. Just, yeah, it's a toilet, basically.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from panel members?
No, thank you.
No,
One more point, if I could. That is very useful for the outdoor workers, gardeners, those sort of people. It's outdoor toilet for people who don't need to come into the house.
Okay, thank you. Okay, nothing else from panel members? No. Okay, can I thank you very much
thank you
for
your
your presentation, for your time. As I mentioned, the panel will make a determination later on. We make that determination in camera, and then you'd be notified by the council a few days from now as to what that determination is. Again, thank you. Could I ask you to log out now, and panel members, could you stay online, please?
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, just confirming that's
Yes.
are you closing the public meeting? So I can stop the recording?
Yes, I will close the public meeting formally. Thank you very much.